Hello and welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'm Beth, a creator-based coach with CMH Coaching for Life. I'm here today to help you and those you love create a life you feel grounded and at home in. Think of a life where you feel peace, love for those around you, and in a flow with just enough challenge to keep you happy and creating something wonderful. Sounds like magic, but it's not. You can create that life every single day. You can have a life full of love, excitement, hope, and creation. Our mission at CMH Coaching is to flood the earth with light through compassion, mindfulness, and hope. And I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you like what you see and hear today, think of someone you know that would enjoy and benefit from this message. Our mission is to flood the world with compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Share this with them. But for now, this is time just for you. So settle into whatever you're doing and enjoy this time with the girls where we create that one awesome, amazing, perfect life every one of us is seeking.
You gotta watch your thinking. Watch your thinking. Watch your thinking.
So here we are. And we're thrilled to be here for you. I'm Beth Bitsane Brooks. And this is my good friend, Jen, who is a hypnotherapist and a really great coach. And we are here today to talk to you about creativity, which is one of my very favorite things to talk about. So when my kids were little, this is where it came from. We had a lot of littles in a very short time. We had 6 kids and my oldest was 12 at the time. And we started homeschooling when she was 6. So, and we lived in 1,000 square feet. And so the dining room table was the school table and the eating table and the everything, you know. And my husband would come home and it would be chaos and carnage. And he would say, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" And I said, "We're being creative. We're just being creative." And he'd shake his head and he'd smile and join us. But we, with our homeschool, when we started the school, we named our school the Center for Creative Learning because of that that experience that we had whenever he would come home and we'd have carnage. It was clean again one, at some point, but we were busy. We were busy doing stuff and it was messy. But that creativity was so life-bringing, it was joy, just really joyous. And we're talking about that 9C life. And let's see if we can remember all the ones we've talked about so far. We've talked about clarity and we've talked about calm and we've talked about curiosity. And then last week we talked about courage. And so now we're talking about the 5th C, which is creativity. And the way that creativity centers your life and gives you rest as well as growth at the same time, which I just love. And this happens for me when I'm writing. I can get into that Zen space, that flow space. And I actually am rejuvenated and excited when I finish, where I could have gone in just feeling like, oh my gosh, do I really have to do this? It's great. I bet you it's that way for you for gardening.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And for other things, but it's actually when you get into that creative space, you're in a subconscious theta state.
Okay, so can you educate us about what that means? What is theta and why does it matter about our subconscious?
When it's just a different awareness, a different place that you can actually learn differently, and creating is part of that. So you have different stages. This is.
No, I want the science. Teach me, please.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm teaching you the science, but I'm not a neuroscience scientist. And this is very, very plain and simple. Okay.
We like plain and simple.
In the sense of there's no, yeah. So you have different states, brain wave states that you go in and out of all day. And when you are in the state of talking and like discussing things,
like where we are now.
Right now, you're in beta.
Beta.
You're in beta.
Is it like a thinking state where you're trying to figure things out?
Yeah, but not internally. It's like this, because you can get into it by studying something, you can slip into theta state.
Right. But this is an outward energy.
Yeah, this is when I use my willpower. This is when I use my executive functioning. This is when I
This is when I
try
tell my
to
husband where to
reason.
hang that picture.
Yeah, and I'm trying to reason things out, and we're discussing that type of thing.
Right.
It's a different. If you think about it, that's a different space that if you decide to go do something with your hands, like paint something or garden
Or cook
or
something like making sourdough and working with the dough.
yeah,
That's
creating
amazingly.
something.
Yeah.
You actually access a different part of your brain waves, and creativity looks different for everybody. Some people create with their body. Some people create with like their mind. Like my husband, he just always thought I'm not a very creative person, and I'm like, excuse me, the words and how you can tell things and write, very creative.
Very creative.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can be creative differently, but I like how you said you get into that flow state. That flow state is the state theta state, where
Okay.
it's just like you feel like you just connected with something and it just flows.
And it just takes you. I mean, it's just taking you. There's not any work really there.
Exactly.
But yet you come out of it and you've created something, but you actually kind of have to shift when you step back to look,
Mhm.
like you've done a painting and you've been in this place, this zone. And then when you step back, you're like, oh, there it is. But it's actually, you can feel the shift. So is that from theta to
Yeah.
beta?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, that is
Yeah.
very cool.
And there's like theta has like different, like I would say, levels to it, light theta, deep theta, those type of things. It just depends on where you are. And it's a suspension of that critical factor of the brain.
Hmm.
And it's a place where you can just start to like almost like daydream or imagine. Because I bet your brain goes there when you're doing those things with the bread.
Or yeah, with whatever, when I'm in that zone, like gardening is like that for me. A walk in the woods is like
Mhm.
for me. And then and it's interesting because, and I don't know if this is common, but I'll be out wandering or have just listened to some really great music, and then people come in and it's almost like a jolt.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
switch back all of
Almost
a
like you have to come back to the present. You're like,
yeah,
oh,
it's like somebody
okay.
walks you or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're just shifting your brainwave state. Yeah. And there's actually, I mean, like daydreaming is a state.
Mhm. But
And
that's a theta state, right? Daydreaming
um,
is
so there's like a little nuance between alpha and theta.
okay.
So it's like I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Is this alpha? Is this theta? I don't know. So but
So what are the states then? There's alpha, there's beta,
alpha,
there's
beta,
theta.
theta, and delta, which
Tell
is
us
your
about
sleep.
delta.
Delta is your sleep state.
Oh, okay.
And it's very easy to go from a deep theta right into delta. And before you go, have you ever like fallen asleep and you're just kind of aware but not aware, kind of aware but not aware? You're
Yeah,
in that.
you're drifting. I love that space.
It's your deeper theta, and then you go into delta. Yeah.
Yeah, it
You
feels
need
right.
delta to detox your brain, to release, chemicals, and you also need it to like process what you have been through your day or whatever problem that may be coming up, because you'll go in and out. And so a lot of times I will be like, okay, this is what I really want to have resolved in my life, or I need a solution.
Uh-huh.
And so I will keep that just before I go to sleep. Just before I go to sleep. And sometimes my dreams are like pretty strange, but I wake up going, I think that might have like released something or resolved something deeper within me. I don't know. Or I'll wake up going, yeah, that's weird. And it will give me clarity actually on something like, oh, that's just representing this part of my life. I get it. I
Uh-huh.
actually am kind of angry about that. So then I can, look at that.
You see
But
it.
yeah,
That is fascinating. Yeah, one day we'll have to talk about dream states and the meanings in the dreams and the things that our mind works through when we're sleeping. That would be a really fun podcast.
there's some general themes, but it's also very subjective to your life experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like it would be a really personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so let's just talk about then how creativity allows us to rest and to grow at the same time. Because that was the thing that I thought was so cool. And that's why I thought I brought up Sandra Dalton Smith's Sacred Rest. And
Yes.
creativity is one of those things on her Sacred Rest. She's got all different kinds of rest. You could do spiritual rest, you could do emotional, you could do physical, but creative, what?
Well, I was just naming them: social
Name them,
rest,
name the rest. Social, oh, sensory. I
sensory and social.
sensory
Yeah.
rest a lot. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But creative is in there. And so the way she shows, it's actually a form of rest. And I guess that makes sense when you talk about
Theta.
being in theta, that
Mhm.
theta, and then just below theta is sleep, delta. So it's a form of rest.
Mhm.
But yet you're producing.
Well, that's the thing. It's such an amazing, transformative, but yet heightened learning space.
Huh?
And you do things in a different way than when you would do consciously, like in the data. I mean, in the beta state.
That's
It's
so fascinating.
fascinating. It's just, and people don't understand that when you have a super focused like something, and you kind of feel like you get tunnel vision,
Yes.
you've slipped into that theta creative state.
Well, and I've heard there are some really serious health
Mhm.
benefits for being in that flow,
Yeah.
in that
Well,
theta state.
getting your brain out of delta and into theta
Mhm.
can actually help like rejuvenate you. What was the study that I learned in my training? I think it's like 25 minutes of theta state could be like hours of sleep. Not that you should, yeah, not that you should substitute it for your delta states, but like if you need a little bit of a rejuvenation, do that.
Well,
And
and
think,
meditation is a theta state, right?
yes,
And I
yes,
know hypnosis is a theta state.
yeah. And just think about like what you can start to have clarity on when you're in those states.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that you just have that narrowed focus and just kind of suspend and let just anything happen, like that flow, go with it type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it has to do with focus.
Hmm.
Like you said, the tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I know I went last weekend to help a friend have a baby. And I was there to rub feet and use oils and do remedies and offer encouraging words. But what happened was I was there as an extension of her husband and of her. And so I was incredibly, incredibly present and actually came into that flow state that you're talking about and just stayed in that flow. She was in labor for a long time, but stayed in that flow. And when I resurfaced, the baby had gone off to the nursery. She was settled. I was ready to go home. It was like a whole year had passed, instead of hours. And I was different.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of because it was tunnel vision. That was
Mhm.
all we thought about for the whole time we were there. It was set apart. There was no phone going on. There was no email checking. There was no work to do. It was just that. And it was incredibly energizing. It was like somebody turned the page on my chapter and opened a new chapter.
Mhm.
And I think it's that way when we're creating anything. She created a baby. I just tried to create a
Mhm.
nice environment.
Well, see, that's it. You created something.
I did. I really worked to work with the people in the hospital and to create compassion and to create love and to create unity in her space so that she could create this experience for her so she could have her baby.
There's
And it worked. It was really cool. People just came together and it was one unified room. But yeah, it was a creating.
there's another benefit that I learned. And I apologize for not having the sightings and things like that, but
I didn't forewarn you or anything. We'll just take it off the top of your head. Yeah.
but that also like, and this speaks to that, the health benefits of being in the creative state is when you do something with your hands repetitively,
Mhm. Oh,
it
like knitting.
or just anything like drawing. But when you just kind of, and it's the combination of the movement of the hand
Uh-huh.
does something with the brain that releases chemicals, the good chemicals. So there's,
Oh,
I mean, like they're finding all these things. And can you just think about it though? Like, but that's just moving your hand. When you move your whole body, what are you doing? And so,
Tai Chi. Tai Chi. Yes.
or just like, have you seen just how it's just like so joyous for some people to dance? And you're
Yes.
just like,
And they just let
oh,
go and they're just doing their thing. It's so
yeah.
good.
It's
Yeah.
like they're getting into like this focused, different state. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is good for the brains.
Dance is amazing creativity. Creativity. It's the truth. It is so, so good.
And I have to speak to this.
Okay.
Just sometimes you just have to create for the process of creating. Don't create for a perfected outcome or product.
No.
Yeah,
I
because
suspend all the judgment.
yeah, you know, make some ugly stuff. Do
Oh, I
something
have, but
fun
this is
things. Yeah.
I make some up because I'm not a very good painter, but I went to a friend's birthday party. I think it was her 60th birthday party, and they had everybody sit down at the table and we painted Gerber daisies.
Mm.
And my Gerber daisies were recognizable as Gerber daisies, but that's all I can say pleasant about it. But it was nice to be suspended in that place and create something. But the real fun was bringing it home and putting it on a post in the backyard and shooting bows and arrows at it.
Oh, that's fun. That's
And
so
in
fun.
some weird way, I guess that was creative. The outdoor experience was amazing, but
Yeah.
that was really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it just there's just all different ways to do that, to feed that part of you to be balanced. Yeah.
Well, and I really can't think of any other way that I grow and rest at the same time. You know, the learning. I know if you put me with a really great book,
Mhm.
I'll grow and rest at the same time. But creativity is essential.
Yeah.
But then how do you take time for creativity if you're already like super busy? You know, I think of when all my kids were home and yes, it's creative to make sourdough bread, but it was not restful to make sourdough bread with 6 kids in the room and schooling. It
Yeah.
just wasn't. So
I think
how do you
I think she points out in the book that sometimes you just have to make the time, even if
yeah,
it's 5 minutes. Because
yeah,
I mean, sometimes I mean, like, who has 4 or 5 hours to sit down and do something? So it's like,
right.
what can you do in a certain amount of time to create? Even what is it? Just doodle or something, you know?
Oh, yes, I loved the doodling that we did with you when
Yeah,
we did the jumpstart.
that's a creative space. You get right into that theta, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just closed my eyes and let my hand go as you guided us through that meditation. And yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
little things you can do to create. What if it's like, just creating an environment of peace? You're creating something.
You are creating something, even if you can't see it. I
Mhm.
know in that hospital room, people could feel it. And I talked to her today, checked in to check in on recovery and on baby. And it was the sweetest compliment because her husband said what's really fascinating is there were 3 midwives present, all, and then there was an energy worker. She does cranial sacral therapy. And then there was me. And all of us were in the same decade of life, which was
Mm.
really cool. And it turned out I even knew a couple of the midwives from previous experiences from when we had common friends, because we're all from the Dallas area. But after it was all over and she and her husband were actually giggling and happy again, he commented how different it was to see to see a room full of women um, fully actualized and able to stand and be themselves and each one contribute and make this happen. Because
Mhm.
technically she shouldn't have been able to have that baby, but she did
Yeah.
with all, and it was just everybody came in and did their own part, but it was the creation of unity that made the difference. Being of one heart and one mind, we were there for her. It was really a sacred, really cool experience, but everyone drew on what they knew and respected everybody else. And we all worked to create that experience for her. So, and that little boy, it'll be nice to watch him grow up now, was good. So going back, that took 36 hours, by the way. We're not going to take 36 hours to create in general. But if we were going to take 10 minutes, I think it would be really fun to just experiment this week. you and I have had these experiences, but if you haven't had a flow state experience before, just to try, can we go over the doodling, the little doodling idea that you had in the imagery?
Well,
Or,
what I would say, because you need to be led through that
right.
process. Why I'm thinking doodling is just figure out, do I like to draw flowers? I like to draw hearts. And just fill a page up, or
I
just a
like
few,
to draw blue bonnets. Yep.
or,
And
or,
dandelions.
or maybe you like those adult coloring books.
Oh,
Or
no, there are lines. We don't draw in the lines.
I'm a line person. I must have the line. Um,
That's why we complement each other so well.
you only color in the lines.
No, no, you never color in the lines.
Um, there's a lot of things that you can, and maybe even explore. Maybe I want to paint rocks, or it's just like,
I think painting
all,
rocks is really fun. Yeah.
yeah, there's all these little things you can do. Or maybe it's like maybe you don't feel like you are in that, like, because when people think of creativity, they think of art. Maybe you like a collage, or maybe you're like, I want to go create a salad, or I want to create. It's like it doesn't have to be a poem. I mean, it doesn't have to be like an artsy fartsy thing, or
Oh,
as my
it,
husband say,
my
crappy crap,
husband,
crappy crap.
his creativity, my husband's creativity is Wordle,
Yeah.
or he'll make a spreadsheet. Oh my gosh, he loves to make spreadsheets, but he is totally in the zone and energized.
Mm-hmm.
That's so. All right. Then the challenge for our girls this week, take 10 minutes and before you begin, just rate how you feel. Take a good look, how you feel. Then in a non-judgment way, take 10 minutes and do something that you're just in the zone, that you're just loving, and just makes you feel really good in a creative way. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, see how you feel. Do you feel lighter? Do you feel calmer? Is your heart lighter?
Or
And
even, did you lose track of time?
yes, did you lose track of time? To me, that is the ultimate restoration, is to lose track of time. It's why I love Netflix. It's like, the
These
show,
days, so let's not go there. I'm just kidding.
it's not creative, really. I'm doing nothing. I'm turning off, but I'm following a show, and the characters in the show, and I'm involved in that, but I just lose track. I don't have mine on autoplay, just saying. Yeah. So it doesn't automatically play the next one.
I think because of what devices do to the brain, I'm going to disagree with that being putting
That
you
is
in.
not a creative thing, and that is not a theta thing. I don't even know what
Well,
that is.
it can be. I mean, movies and stories do put you in a theta state, but I'm saying this is probably not the best thing for your brain. I would say
A
do
book would be
something
way
that
better.
involves motion. Yeah,
Yes. And has your hands going.
have your hands or your feet going. A lot of really good, like you talked about, like walks and things like that. I mean,
Yes.
have you ever
Or dance in the kitchen.
like when people do walks or when people run, they can get into a rhythm and they're like, oh, I just kind of feel like I'm in the zone or group
Yes.
yourself in kind of like a hypnotic
You
state.
are. Yeah. Remember, Jacine did that. She did mindfulness runs, and
Yeah.
she said how liberating it was because she noticed so much. Yeah. And she was definitely in that theta zone. Yeah. All right. Then for the fifth C, creativity, try it. Just try it this week, you guys. I really don't know about book club. Jacine is training a whole office. In fact, today I spoke with her this morning on our miracle call, and she was saying she was just going to go in and non-judgmentally observe, just to observe, because she said this particular place was struggling in some way. I don't even remember. But today was just go in and observe and prayerfully watch and see how she could be of service. So I doubt that they have book club, but maybe somebody else is doing it. We can find out. Check out the website if you have questions, or the Facebook page, probably be the easiest, the 50/50 Girl Club. But next
I
week,
think is it called the Happiness Project? Is that what they're doing? No, it's by that author. I don't know if it's the Happiness.
they're doing Authentic Happiness.
Authentic
Yeah,
Happiness.
Authentic Happiness. And it's by the father of positive psychology, Martin Seligman. I
There
knew it
you
was in the back of my brain. Yeah, because he wrote Learned Optimism as well. And then 25 years later, 30 years later, came back and wrote The Hope Circuit in explanation why learned optimism was wrong, and that we actually have a hope circuit in our brain and that they have located it now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so the Hope Circuit is a fantastic book. It's really good. And Authentic Happiness is also great. So book club will be Authentic Happiness this week. And if you have more interest, you can go to the UPenn website, and they have all of Martin Seligman's stuff out there. And you can do all kinds of quizzes to see if, you can be more optimistic or find out how optimistic you are or what all of that stuff is. And you can learn happiness. Yeah, it's the Happiness Project. That's where it is. So good. Okay, you guys. Well, then, till next week when we will talk about the next C, and I will hold you in suspense until then.
I'm looking at my list. I'm like, which one is it going to be?
I don't know. We could do confidence. I thought about doing confidence today. We could do compassion, but I don't know what we're actually going to do. We'll just hold you in suspense and surprise you next week. But for this week, let's practice some creativity, whether it's decorating a cookie or going for a walk in the woods, or making a flower garden. I'm dreaming of flower gardens.
I know. I can't wait to get out in the garden. Oh.
I know. I want it so bad. We had that 3 or 4 days of 80-degree temperatures, and today the high is 40 and it's raining, And so
we're supposed to get hit with another big snowstorm in the next 2 days. So,
oh boy.
Yeah. Winter's back.
I have a little bit of faith. I bought calendula seeds yesterday.
Ah.
Packages. So we're doing that. Not today though. Got to get warm. So y'all take care, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Jen.
I can choose to be happy, choose to be free, moment by moment. It's all up to me, 'cause what I think about, I bring about. That's the way it is, and there is no doubt. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think.
Hey, thanks for joining us today in A Creator-Based Life. I hope you felt that compassion, mindfulness, and hope you came seeking today. You can find more of it at cmhcoaching.com or on linktree/cmhcoaching. Of course, any social media outlet, we're there too. Because you felt the benefit and light in this message, please invite those you care deeply about to join us. Help us to create a ripple effect across the globe of compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Then we can create a creator-based life together. Have a great week, y'all. We'll talk to you soon.
Moment by moment, it's all up to me, 'cause what I think about, I bring